This is another episode of Standup Comedy, your host and MC, celebrating 40-plus years on the fringe of show business. Stories, interviews, and comedy sets from the famous and not so famous. Here's your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Hey, welcome to this week's show. We are so lucky to have with us today a triple threat in entertainment. This guy's not only a very funny entertainer, but he's a terrific magician and a ventriloquist. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andy Gross. Andy, so good to have you. We're doing a phone interview because you're down in Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you. I wish you could have saw what just happened. I disappeared out of a puff of smoke. It was incredible. Too bad we're doing a phone interview.
You're doing a little magic, and we, the audience, can't participate. That is so funny. A couple shows back, I interviewed Larry Wilson, who was Magician of the Year in 2017, and we talked mostly about our relationship and working in the industry because, of course, he can't do magic for a podcast. But I appreciate you appearing out of a cloud of smoke.
It was incredible. My family just applauded. They were going wild. They've never seen me do that before.
Well, that's great. Well, for those of you that... Well, we're getting lots of background noise.
Oh, all right. Okay,
are we mowing the lawn while we're doing this?
Is that okay? I was resetting the elephant to make him appear in a minute. No, hold on, it'd be quieter here. Okay.
So what I wanted to tell everybody that before you got into comedy, at age 15, you and your brother were both professional racquetball players, and you specifically, at 15 years of age, was a world-class racquetball player. Kind of an interesting start, very athletic. I've seen you since. Apparently you didn't keep up with it, but tell us a little bit about being a professional racquetball player. Did it take you around the world?
It did. I mean, I was only 15 years old. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and that was like the mecca of racquetball for whatever reason. That's where like the number one player in the world was. And it was when racquetball was at its peak in popularity. I mean, 6 million people were playing around the world. They couldn't build courts fast enough.
Wow.
And I got on the professional tour at 15, started making all of this money. Things were great, traveling around, endorsing products, playing tournaments, exhibitions, the whole deal. And about 24, 25, the sport just died. I mean, it died.
Oh, it was I thought you just retired. The sport kind of retired.
No, the sport completely retired me.
Oh, how
so
interesting.
Here I am. Didn't ever finish college because here I am traveling around making this great money, still trying to make that kind of money today. Back when I was 15 and didn't know what to do. So I go, hey, I think, I was a ventriloquist as a kid. I always liked it. I think I'm going to become a ventriloquist. So the natural progression is to go from racquetball to ventriloquism.
Well,
I think, right?
Yeah, and that
most people.
Yeah, that's kind of an odd choice, but interesting.
Yes.
But before we leave the racquetball, you played with your brother, who then kind of followed you. And didn't you guys do some projects together in magic? Didn't he help you produce the magic kit?
Yeah, we did. We were, and back to the racquetball, it was pretty good because I was left-handed, he was right-handed, so we were a great doubles team. I mean, it was really hard to beat us. We won a lot of national titles in doubles. And then once the racquetball did stop, I got into, as a kid, I was into hobbies, magic, ventriloquism. So I started that, which we'll talk about later. But then my brother and I got into making products because after my shows, I would sell a few things and all of a sudden we started importing stuff. And before long, we had this big company that was selling and shipping products, magic, tricks, jokes, pranks to all the different stores around the country, around the world, actually.
Well, I remember.
Parties.
I remember when you were first launching your very first kids magic kit, and I had a lot of business experience, and we sat down, the three of us, and talked about some various marketing and distribution ideas. And I remember it because it was an honor that you guys asked for my opinion. But I was so impressed with what you and your brother had put together. And here you had this really professional-looking kids' magic kit, and it was going out all over the world. You guys, from racquetball into magic, have always been top of the line, so congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you. And I do remember that. You did give some good tips and advice and things like that. It really was helpful back then. When you're first starting, you look for someone that knows and has been in the business world and knows what's going on. That was helpful. So thank you.
Well, it was really fun. Now, let's transition into comedy. How did you first come to work for me at Laughs Unlimited?
Well, that's a fun story, actually. I was pretty young, and I had just been into comedy maybe a couple of years, and I was sending out my old VHS tapes to everyone, and I know they were using it to level off the tables and things like that. And,
By the way,
I came to, yeah.
By the way, for our young audience, the VHS tape used to be the way to share video.
Right.
Many years ago.
We would send it out. I remember coming to your club one time, and I saw my VHS tape under the table leg, balancing the table. I was like, hey, is that my tape? No. That didn't happen. But it wasn't mine. It was someone else's. I actually got the call from you one day. It was like a Monday or Tuesday. I'll never forget this. I get the call saying, hey, can you come and, I'd like you to work at the club. And I said, this is great. Yeah, when? You said, like, tomorrow or the next day or two. It was on a Thursday through Sunday deal. So I was excited. This was my first big break, my first real club, an A club, and I was, ecstatic. So I flew up right away, got a ticket, got there. You picked me up. Never forget, you started driving me around, and you go, hey, we got to stop at this thrift store. And I go, oh, whatever. Okay, you're the owner of the club, whatever, sure. So we stopped at the thrift club, and then you explained to me, you said, this is supposed to be an all-ladies funny weekend, all-female comedians.
Yeah,
However,
we used
one
to
of
do
them
those
got
once
sick.
in a while.
Yeah. And you told me, you said, one of them got sick. So I've got this idea that you just come out wearing a dress. So we're going to go in the thrift store and get you a dress. Now, you didn't give me much time to think or talk about it. You said, we're just going to go in and get that dress. I'm thinking, okay, all right, okay, I'll go with this. Whatever.
Well,
yeah.
When in times of challenges like losing a featured act and needing to replace somebody in an all-woman show, you got to be quick on your feet.
Exactly. And you know what? But we got the dress. We got a couple of them. I remember you bought a couple of them just in case, the color didn't match me or something. I don't know. Didn't look good on stage. But you were really professional about it. I'll never forget. I went along with it, no problem. But the way you introduced it, you said what happened. Hey, one of the girls had to drop out, so we have a special guest for you. And you set it up perfect. And I came out. I wore the dress for the first minute, then took it off and then went about doing it. And it was my first real big break. And the set went great. You had me back and back and back and back. And we're a big, part of me getting into comedy and learning comedy because I was on your stage more than any other stage. And it really, really helped me to this day tremendously.
Well, we were in a position to offer people that we thought had the potential. At that time, we had more than one club. And so we could give people a lot of work and give them an opportunity to grow. And people like you and Paula Poundstone and we were the first stop for Gary Shandling out of Tucson, Arizona, the first stop for Will Durst doing political comedy. So we were the first headlining room that a lot of people got to work, and we took that seriously and worked really hard with the entertainers to help them grow.
And not only that, you were one of the few clubs, I shouldn't say few, but there were quite a few that did it, but you were the one that would help variety guys. Because, I did comedy, magic, ventriloquism, and a lot of people kind of look down upon that. They don't want the variety stuff in there. They don't want any prop guys in there. Yeah, and sometimes we're considered so you would do that. You gave jugglers. You gave my buddy Fred Anderson. He was always there. I was there. I mean, you gave these guys opportunity, which is really nice.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that because actually, it is true that a lot of the stand-up clubs around the country, especially in the 80s, were anti-variety. It's like stand-up or nothing, almost like snobs about it. And for me, it was all about entertaining the audience, and I love the arts. And I mentioned when I first opened the club, the first 6 months, I had a magician in the feature spot every week. And then later on, I would bring in, one of the most interesting was I brought in a professional tap dancer. Now, you wouldn't think a tap dancer would be interesting to a crowd, a stand-up comedy club crowd, but this guy was amazing. He would end up on top of a bar stool and be able to tap some amazing beats. We developed the stage so it had a hard floor. You could hear every move he made. But that was just one example. Like you said, we used dozens of magicians, ventriloquists, jugglers were another thing that was interesting. I'm sorry you've taken me off on a tangent, which is what often happens here. Yeah. We had in the original room in Firehouse Alley, we only had about a 7-foot ceiling. It was pretty low over the entertainers. And it was always interesting when the jugglers came in because they'd have to adapt their acts to, you're tossing swords and you only got a few feet.
They had to juggle on their knees.
Yeah. Actually, we've had that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, wow.
Well, that's interesting. And the story about you coming...
Carson.
Yeah, exactly. And you coming out on a dress on that all-woman show, I bet that was a great way to introduce yourself to the audience. I'm sure it got rave response.
Got laughs. And you set it up right, so you really did set it up right. So I walked out there, we got the good laugh. I did the first minute in it, and then I just ripped it off and went about the regular show. And that dress, both of them, actually were in the green room for the next 10 years, easily hanging on the back of that door. Every time I came, it reminded me of my first time working with you.
We kept them around in case you felt like a little cross-dressing to brighten your day.
You never know. You never know.
As one of the few entertainers that actually did magic and ventriloquism and mixed in some comedy, you said that you found it challenging at some clubs, but overall, like in your introduction, a triple threat, didn't it also kind of accentuate your value as an entertainer?
It did. It did a lot. I'll tell you what really helped me. It helped me in the corporate shows. For whatever reason, corporate shows are a really good place for variety performers. Stand-up comedians sometimes don't do as well in the corporate shows because if they get into any kind of political stuff or they start talking about anything that will upset the audience, you lose half of them right away. Anything edgy. So the corporate people, you come out there, you do a magic trick, nothing can really go wrong most of the time. So the corporate stuff helped me tremendously. I mean, that was great. I ended up doing really well with that. But it did. I mean, there were clubs that looked down upon it. I mean, there were a lot of clubs that just didn't want that. I mean, even Jeff Dunham, who's one of the biggest comedians in the world right now, he would tell me stories that he would show up for places they wouldn't put him on, or they put him on at 2 o'clock in the morning because we'll get to you. We'll get to you. He's ventriloquist.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So they would do that, But
I'm glad that
you
it
were
worked
more
out
like
for
the
you.
Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson would have variety acts on. And then when Leno came, he didn't, those kind of guys, they didn't do much with those. Johnny Carson would always have a magician or a ventriloquist or someone on, which is really cool.
Just to throw a little history into it, he was following the process that the Sullivan shows had done. Right. I mean, back in early television, it was all about variety. And people,
I just did a show.
It.
Oh, I love it. I just did a show in Palm Springs, and it was funny because it was a very old crowd, which is great, which I love to perform for the older people. I really do. And I came out and I said, how many people remember Senior Wences? And the audience all applauded. We're clapping. I said, this is probably the only audience in America that I could say that reference, and you guys clap, and applaud, and remember this. No one else would remember that.
Well, thanks for just aging me, because I remember Senior Wences.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay.
So you did start off at Laughs. Was there any particular stories from your early days at the club that you'd like to share? I know that we had an opportunity to meet your lovely wife, April, and you had a son while working with us.
Yeah, I did. We used to love to come up there because I lived in LA. So once I started getting familiar and really liked you in the club, you had me back a lot. My wife started coming up with my son at the time. He was maybe 4, 5, 6, something like that. And it was an exciting time because here I am just starting out in comedy. You gave me middle feature, headline act and things like that. So I'd come up, kind of be the big shot. And we had the town around their old town, and we'd love to go to the candy stores. It was a real memorable time. And I remember one of the first times we met you, you got him in the club, my son, and you put him on the wheelie. What do you call that? The dolly.
A hand truck.
A hand dolly type thing. Yeah,
hand truck. Yeah. We used to use them to move the liquor around in the garbage cans.
Sure. and you were just running him through the aisles, through the tables and the chairs, and he was laughing hysterically. It was like just a big memory for him. He remembers that to this day, and he's like 30 now, so it's pretty funny. Well, it really did, and my wife loved it. Yeah, she had fun. You were always treated everyone great.
Well, we were a big family, and I have a special affection for kids, and the hand truck ride was something I started with my son, and then we did it with Mac's son, and so when your son came along, it was something to have fun with, and it's not always fun hanging around a club full of adults during the off hours when everyone's cleaning and setting up or rehearsing. And so to do something to make it a little bit more entertaining for him was certainly our pleasure and a lot of fun for me as well. Well, I'm glad that he has good memories of that. What's he doing these days?
He just graduated at UCLA. And now he's a general manager of a really nice, trendy type restaurant down in Santa Monica. And he's doing great.
Oh,
he has
that's
a sociology
awesome.
degree and was going to go into that, but he had been working at this restaurant all through college, and they offered him a great thing to stay with them. So he stayed, and I'm kind of excited for him. He's doing really well.
So who knows? Maybe running him around in a hand truck in a nightclub restaurant inspired him.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing too. I don't know if you were there the night that my daughter, later on I had a daughter, that she came one time to one of my shows, and after my set, she was a ham. She's always been a ham, and I'll explain. She got into the entertainment and is a much bigger name than I'll ever be. Of course, she got really some big notoriety and did a lot of film and stuff. But one of her first things on stage was too, she wanted to get up and sing. And I said, listen, maybe after my set, if it goes well and the audience likes me, maybe I can, get you up there and sing. And sure enough, she was 4 or 5. We brought her up and they loved her. She sang a song and didn't want to leave. So she also had one of her first things on stage with you right there. So it's kind of neat. And she went on to do a lot of stuff. I mean,
what's her stage name?
She goes by Lily. She dropped the gross. So her name is Morgan Lily. So if you look her up, you'll see a lot of people will recognize you. They'll say, oh, yeah, I know this little girl. She's been in a ton of stuff. She worked a lot. She worked with Silworks. She's got a film right now she just did with Mark Wahlberg. It'll be coming out pretty soon. So
well, that's awesome. Well, next time you talk to Lily, tell her that her time on my stage gave her a start, and I'm waiting for my percentage.
It did. I know. I owe you. Keep waiting.
So you've been in the industry and you've traveled around. I know you've worked all over the country, if not over, and even some shows overseas. Any interesting entertainment stories from your travels? Anything come to mind that might have made the fact that you were a traveling entertainer a kind of unique industry to choose?
I mean, that's one of my favorite things because, from racquetball, all I did was travel. So all I knew was traveling, hotels, exploring, meeting great people. I think to me, I still love that. I mean, my wife, she tells me all the time, she says, you know what, kids are getting older. I think we sell everything, get an RV and just go to your shows and explore the country, meet these people that you always tell me you're meeting and seeing. And I'm all for it. I'm like, you know what? To me, that's just my life. I love it.
That's a great way to kind of semi-retire. Now,
I love it.
Over in your years at Laughs, did you work with any entertainers that ended up doing something? I know that you headlined some, but you were also an opening and feature act. Was there anybody you worked with that kind of stood out?
One of the first ones, again, I guess probably because one of my first times was Diane Nichols. She was fantastic and really nice to me and told me some great stories, too, she had. She was fun.
She was
Fred Anderson.
Top comedians. Fred Anderson is still, in fact, when I opened up my business here a couple of years ago in Elk Grove, he came up and did the opening and came out and entertained the crowd. So, by the way, everybody, Fred Anderson's a very talented juggler out of San Francisco and was famous for being the lead entertainment / juggler on Pier 49 for many years. Yeah.
Fred, after working with him at your club, I started doing these performing arts venues that were fantastic too. These are like 400, 500, 600 seats or more in these small to mid-sized towns that have these beautiful vaudeville theaters that were going to get ripped down, and then the city pours millions of dollars in to restore them and make them, keep the arts alive. And I started doing this tour of all these performing arts venues, so I needed someone to work with me. And I remember calling Fred, and I said, "Hey, Fred, you want to go on the road with me and start doing these bigger theaters?" And he goes, "Well, I'd like to, but I got to let you know I'm blind now." I go, "Blind?"
What?
I don't know if you remember. Yeah, so I said, I go, "Blind?"
How long ago was this?
This is already 10 years ago. And I go, "Blind?" I go, "Well, are you still juggling?" He goes, yeah, I'm still juggling. I go, "Well, then let's go. What's the difference, So it turned out he's not really blind. He kind of markets himself as that because he's like nearsighted or something. So he says, "I'm the only blind juggler."
Oh,
so I gave him an idea.
Funny.
Here's what I told him, and I know you'd like this. I said, "Fred, I'm selling my magic stuff after the shows. I've got an idea for you to sell something because you're telling everyone, about your glasses and you're blind and you can't get." I said, "You should sell Braille balls." He goes, "What?" I said, "Braille balls for blind jugglers, and they're balls that have a little Braille on them, so you can." Well,
that's
I knew you'd like it, but
he
didn't get it. He's like, "I don't understand. I don't get it." I go, "I think it's great."
Oh, that's funny. You still have some marketing talent in you. That's a great thought. And that's one of those things that
everyone,
Oh, that's one of those things that could catch on. I mean, I could even see a professional juggler going out on stage and say, "These balls here have some special bumps on them. These are my, these are my," because they're Braille balls. Oh, that's funny.
That's it. I liked it. He wasn't too sure about it, but I thought it was good. So we toured around, and we had some great times. We toured around for like 7-8 years playing these big performing arts venues, and he couldn't believe it. Every time we walked into these places, I mean, they were beautiful venues, some really big ones too. And he was like, I just can't believe this. This is incredible. Every time we went into these, and it was a great time.
Yeah,
but
I love those. I love those old theaters. Now, you've also done a fair amount of TV. In fact, back in 2013, weren't you on the Ellen Show?
I did get on the Ellen Show. This is a great story too. I did the internet came along, of course, as we all know, and I did a magic trick that I had been doing on stage. I went out down to my park right by the house, and I had my daughter at the time, Morgan. I had her come. She was maybe 9 or 10. She took my iPhone, and she filmed me doing this magic trick where it looks like I'm cut in half.
No, wait.
I mean, it really looks.
This is the half man bit, right?
Yes. Split man. I call it split man. Split man.
Split man. Okay, everybody out there, if you go to your internet and Google split man, you'll see this video because I've watched it. It is hilarious, and it's a trick only Andy does. And I've seen several different versions. How well did that video go viral?
Changed my life. This is the weirdest thing ever. I do this bit, and she's filming it, and I knew it was funny. And I'm down at the park, and I'm hopping out behind trees and scaring people. And I remember telling my wife, I go, "Hey, I'm going to go down to the park with our daughter, and I'm going to just do this magic trick. And for the trick, I have to wear tights, and it's kind of silly, how I'm setting up." She goes, and we had just moved in the house. We just bought and moved in our house. And she goes, "I don't know if it's a good idea for you to go down to the park wearing tights, jumping out in front of all of our neighbors right now. I don't think
welcome to the neighborhood."
Yeah. I go, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So I go down there in my little tights and my little outfit, and I'm doing this trick. She's filming it, and the people's reactions were incredible. I mean, just incredible. So we put it online. We're on YouTube. It's new. And we get, a couple hundred hits. So I go to a show. I'm not performing. She calls me. This is maybe 3 months after it's up. And she goes, "Dad, did you see our video has 7,000 views?" And I go, "Wow, that would take 2 or 3 years normally to get that kind of views." She goes, "Yeah, I don't know." And I said, "Okay, great." So I hung up. I'm having dinner with the people from the show. And all of a sudden she calls me like 20 minutes later. She goes, "Dad, our video has 25,000 views." I go, "Wow, what's going on?"
Oh, it then, just clicked, huh?
I'm just as I'm still eating dinner, all of a sudden my phone's going bing, 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 bing. Those are incoming messages and comments. So, because it was set up for comments to come into my phone on YouTube, but I had to get one a year. So now I'm getting hundreds of them rolling in. I have to turn it off. I have to turn off the comment reporting thing. And in the morning, it had over 1 million views, and I got a call from CNN. Yeah, over 1 million views in the morning. I got a call from CNN at like 4:30 in the morning. They said, "Hello, is this Split Man?" I felt like Tony Stark. "Is this Iron Man? Is this Iron Man?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Who?" I go, "Who is this Split Man?" I go, "Yes." They go, "Do we have permission to use your video on our morning news?" I go, "Yeah, I guess, sure." I didn't even know what's going on. I really didn't. And they played it. And then the next call I get was from my dad, who lives in St. Louis. And he leaves a message. It's still early in the morning. He goes, "You got to get up. I'm brushing my teeth. And I hear magician Andy Gross out of Los Angeles has a new viral video. I almost crapped myself. I dropped my toothbrush. I go running out in the living room, and there you are on CNN in the morning news."
Oh, that's so cool.
It was really. I kept that message because he left me that message. It was pretty neat.
Oh, that's exciting.
I mean, it was really exciting because I think it was Huffington Post was the first big one to pick it up. For whatever reason, someone saw it. Someone shared it. I have people ask me how it happened. I said, I really, truly don't know.
So
it was a fun trick.
Did that lead to the Ellen Show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a big part of it. Yeah, they called shortly after, and they thought it'd be fun to come out. They wanted me to initially scare Ellen, which would have been kind of fun, but I ended up scaring the people as they were coming in to watch her show. They had me hiding, and I would jump out. It was during Halloween time, which was fun. It was a good time to do it.
It's so funny. I watch Ellen once in a while, and especially around Halloween, because she does like to scare her guest and her audience. And I don't remember seeing the one with you on it, but I think that's really cool that you got to do really that. Cool. Now, with all those, just educate everybody that's listening. If you get 1 million hits, is there any monetary value, or did it just help you sell yourself as an entertainer?
Well, I'm living in this great big mansion right now. You might hear the echo from the room. It's so huge. No, here's the thing. Early on, you did make more money than you do now on YouTube. it's not life changing. I'll tell you that. A lot of people say, "Oh my God, you have 12 million hits. You must be rolling in the money." And I said, hey, look, it's nice. I'll take it, but it's not life changing. No. And it's even changed over the years. You don't make quite as much. The thing that helped me more than anything was just the notoriety.
Yeah.
And then I followed it up with a few more, and I have get this boggles my mind. I have over 500 million views now
on the
between
variety
Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And people just sharing it. I mean, there's one place shared it. They have 47 million views with the one video alone. I'm like, this is amazing. But what happened was I ended up getting, because of the internet, I performed in Dubai, Paris, England. I was all over the place a couple of years ago.
Oh,
just
that's
because
exciting,
of the internet. People
Andy.
they said, hey, we want to get this guy. And I'll tell you, I would have made a lot more money had I been able to do this trick. Like what people think, because so many people call up and said, "We'll pay you X amount of money. Just come walk around our party." I go, "Well, you don't get it. I'm not really cut in half. I really can't just walk around a party. It's got to be up on stage. It has to be done right."
Yeah.
So if I could have figured out a way to do that, boy, oh boy, it would have been good. Because I mean, there were people that I was getting calls, and I kid you not, and emails from Dubai, and say, "Can you come? We're having a party on our yacht. We'd like him just to come walk around as one of the entertainers." I'm like, and we'll pay whatever. They didn't care. I go, well, it just doesn't work like that. I'd love to do it, but I can't just walk around.
Well, everybody out in the audience, go out and Google Split Man. Check out the videos. Yeah. That's Andy Gross, the guy we're talking to right now, who got his start working at Laughs Unlimited back in the late 80s, early 90s. Now, back in the day, you did a lot of ventriloquism. In fact, I remember, didn't you do a character based on Mike Tyson?
I did Mike Tyson. I had a puppet of Mike Tyson. He would come out and he'd talk all about how he's a ventriloquist.
Yeah, I did. I did the whole Mike Tyson thing. I had a puppet that looked exactly like him, had especially made, had the tattoo on the face. And can you cuss on this podcast or no?
Oh yeah, whatever.
Because I have a Gary Shandling story actually. Because I knew Gary Shandling a little bit. He used to work out at the same club that I used to go to. So I remember telling him that I was working for you, and Gary would say, "Yeah, I know Scott well. I used to go up there all the time. Yeah." Yeah, how's he doing? I said, he's doing great. And I told him I had a Mike Tyson puppet. And this is his joke. And it was right after Tyson bit Holyfield's ear.
Right.
And he goes, hey, I got a joke for you. You can tell. He goes, Mike Tyson, you had the puppet say this. It's a good thing they stopped the fight when they did. I was just about to suck his dick.
Oh, no.
That was
That's Gary Shandling?
Yeah, I swear to God, hey, you can use that. And I
go, that's so funny. Well,
it's like foreplay.
It's so. Oh, it's hilarious because it is true that there was a lot of entertainers that because they were famous for television. Gary Shandling's a great example. Bob Saget's another one. Dave Coullier's another one that everybody thinks of as squeaky clean. Could be dirty off. When they were doing a nightclub set. And but I think that's a funny bit, and I could just see. I remember the puppet sitting on your lap, and then didn't the Mike Tyson puppet actually have a puppet?
Yeah, that was a good bit. I should have never got rid of it, but Mike Tyson fell out of whatever. He wasn't relevant for a while. I should bring it back because now it would be great. He did. I bring out Tyson, and he would say, I'm a ventriloquist myself now too because I'm retired from boxing. I do ventriloquism. I go, get my puppet. I pull out another little puppet, and it was Don King, and it had the hair sticking straight up.
Oh,
and
that's
then
funny.
Mike Tyson would do, that was his puppet. So he'd have a puppet on his lap, and we'd do a three-way conversation. Don King would be, okay, what's going on here? Yeah, it's okay. Who's pulling the strings now, Don? Who's pulling the strings now? Yeah, it was a good bit.
That I remember that, and that's really funny. But didn't you have? You did have one other main ventriloquial figure, didn't you?
I had just a regular puppet that was just real generic looking, but he was just, he would give me the hardest time, just like all the puppets do. He'd always interrupt, make fun of me and that type of thing, which still works to this day. I mean, Jeff Dunham is still doing that type of thing with Peanut, and, the puppet gives him the hardest time about everything. It works. It's just a good system that always works for sure.
Well, yeah, and I think that when you're doing ventriloquism, not only is it one of the old variety acts, you actually have to really, really practice and study. Unlike Edgar Bergen, that would actually move his lips, a good ventriloquist, you can't tell that they're talking, they're actually throwing their voice. You have that talent. I know that you can do that. For the audience. Wait a minute. It sounds like somebody's
else on the phone there?
No, it sounds like someone's in a case.
It does, doesn't it? Somebody on the phone with us? What's going on? Yeah, I've had so much fun with that. I throw my voice. I learned how to do it when I was pretty young, and I would throw my voice in school. It was pretty cool because I got so good at it, I could actually page myself out of class, which is kind of fun. And then I learned how to throw my voice.
Let's go ahead and what's it sound like to page yourself out of class?
Well, you could just do the. It would sound like the echo, like. Hey, come on, but I would do it, and it would just sound really good. I mean, it sounded great, and I would drive teachers nuts. We had substitute teachers that didn't know I could do this, and they would think people were screaming across the hall. It was pretty fun. I had a lot of fun in school. And then my favorite place to throw my voice was funerals.
What? Oh no!
I'm not dead yet. Hey, let me out! Come on, help me! Let me out!
Oh, that would be freaky and funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Andy, you've had such an amazing career. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing some of these stories. You were one of the guys I enjoyed working with, and as I mentioned, being a fan of variety entertainment, you being able to do magic and ventriloquism and be as funny as you were was really a fun act to have at my club, and I appreciate that. I'm also happy to hear that it was of value to you in your career, and I enjoyed getting to know your family when you were young. And all in all, just a great experience. So thanks for coming on today. Once again, all of our audience members, be sure to check out Split Man on Google and check out Andy's videos. And anybody out there in the corporate world looking for a guy that's funny, great magician, and good ventriloquist, give Andy Gross a call. Any last comments before we sign off, Andy?
No, I appreciate it. And I'm glad that we did this. And I feel the same. You were a big, tremendous help to me early on. And I really thank you. Really do.
Well, it goes both ways, but you're very welcome. And we had a lot of fun having you. In fact, tell you what, to kind of commemorate, you mentioned that you enjoyed working with Diane Nichols. So I'm going to end the podcast with a set from one of the top comedians out of Los Angeles, California. She's done all the talk shows. She's one of the funniest. So coming up right now is a set from Diane Nichols. Thank you, Andy, for joining us.
Absolutely.
And everybody enjoy this set from Diane Nichols.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Southern California, one of the top female acts in the business, regular of the Comedy Store, let's have a big round of applause, Miss Diane Nichols.
I recently joined a health spa. I love it, but it's co-ed. That means you have to look good while you're exercising. Is this cold? I'm wearing that little headband that looks so cute on Olivia Newton-John. I put this little stretchy thing on my head. Discovered something very frightening about my head. It comes to a point. I look like a cone head. This thing snaps off, kills the instructor. I'm out of there. Of course, I look better than some other women. They're wearing their leotards too small. They think it'll hold them in, make them look thinner. You just spill out over the edges. I think it looks real unnatural. Like you're not supposed to have cleavage under your arms. This is not attractive. Men don't like this. Of course, if you really want to confuse them, push it around to the back. You can be the only gal on a double date. 2 dinners. Yum, 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 yum. Boy, women have it much easier than men, though, on first dates, don't we? Because they still have to call us up. That means we know they like us. They called. It's kind of a clue. I mean, nobody ever calls you up and says, I won't be dating you. Oh, good, I can leave the house now. Let me ask you women this. You know this, don't you? Let me ask you women this. You ever go on a date that was going so badly the guy won't let you take your purse with you to the ladies' room? That's right, he holds it for a hostage. Men are not stupid. I think men are more romantic than we give them credit for. Because I think if a man really loves you, he'd do almost anything for you, right? I think he'd kill for you. I think he'd die for you. Just one little thing a man will never do for you. He will never hold your purse in public. But we make them, don't we? That's our version of prove your love. Besides, we can always get men to do what we want. We have the greatest weapon in the world against men. You know what that is. No. It's that whiny voice that we all do real well. You know, the one that melts the wax in their ears? God, a man will do anything to get away from that sound. And if you really want to torture a man, you take that voice and you speed it up. What is that, sonar? What, are you talking to whales? Look, baby, I told you. I do not hold purses. When you think what they ask us to hold. I mean, the priorities, yeah? I'm talking about a little clutch bag here, hon. You know, Helen Gurley Brown, she wrote a book called Sex and the Single Girl. There was a whole chapter in there, things to do to turn men on. She said a woman should put on wet underwear under her clothes, because this will make your dress cling like skin. Yeah? Let's think about this. You walk into a party with wetness seeping through your clothes. You think a man's going to think you're sexy? He's going to think you sweat like a horse. You won't be allowed on the furniture. You'll be the only one at dinner with a placemat on your chair. Kinky. You ever think about your sexual limits? I have. I made a list. I Xeroxed it. I hand it out. Never make me do this. I don't care how much I've had to drink. I could come right out of a coma and hurt you. I could never have group sex. I'm too insecure. I'd always think there'd be somebody making rabbit ears behind my back. Thank you. What a great audience. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC. For information on the show, merchandise, and our sponsors, or to send comments to Scott, visit our website at www.standupyourhostandmc.com. Look for more episodes soon and enjoy the world of stand-up comedy. Visit a comedy showroom near you.